Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the SFL Championship Kickoff Show. I'm Mike Daggs. He's Gerald Smith, the host of the Matt Wilson SFL Kickoff Show, kicking you off to this afternoon with the championship here in Season 24. Behind the scenes, our production crew, Cameron Irvine and Ron Haynes. Welcome to Championship Day of Season 24 here in the Simulation Football League. It's back.
And you made it again.
Made it again.
So jealous right now.
You'll be okay.
That's enough. You made it enough. One time was enough.
Well,
but apparently not. You need more.
Definitely not. It's a great show that we got ahead. You got Gerald and I for a little bit. We've got some interviews that Ashley Jackson conducted. We've got Haynes Vision, brought to you by, of course, Ron Haynes. And it's going to be a breakdown from Cameron Irvine, Charles Doherty. Mike O'Neill is going to join the show. He'll give us his thoughts on what to watch for. And, of course, Tyler Falk, Mike St. Green, the halftime and post-game crew will give us their thoughts on the game. Does this mean we're the opening act now?
No, we're first. And if you ain't first, you're last. Y'all remember that.
That's right. Listen, here we are. Here we are, championship weekend now. Just coming off of semifinal weekend just a week ago. Vancouver, they were in their fifth semifinal appearance in franchise history. They finally won one of those games. They advance on to the championship game, beating Washington 27-17. And, of course, he had Mexico City and Baltimore.
And Mexico City, what do they got? They have their fourth championship appearance. Losers in Season 5,
Yep.
Winners in Season 9, winners in Season 23. There was this large 14-season gap. And because they felt like last time they had between championships was way too long, you guys are going to try and repeat that again.
Came right back
I'm
to it.
I'm extremely jealous. I've been to only 2 semifinals and lost both.
Well, you can just relish in the fact that I'm winning.
Yeah, I guess.
Mexico City back in the championship after taking down Baltimore on the road 34-20. Both of the away teams in the semifinals winning those games after all 4 home teams won the quarterfinals.
Yeah, and it was a crazy thing too, right? Because typically, like you said, all in the quarterfinals, it was all the home teams won, and then they straight reverse it. Of course, a lot of people would say, hey, the 2 better teams going into last week won the games, even though they were on the road. Even though Baltimore, to me, was one of the top teams, and they were crazy scary.
I did pick them,
but that didn't go so well. We'll
never
get to
forget.
That. Yeah,
never forget. So let's talk about how these teams got here. Vancouver in Season 23. We already talked about Mexico City, Season 23. They won the championship. Everybody knows that. Vancouver in Season 23. A lot of people may have forgotten about them because their season was somewhat forgettable. 5-7, one of the worst records they had in a long, long time. In fact, in their inaugural season back in Season 9, they went 7-5. They won in the playoffs. They made it all the way to the semifinals, and then these Mexico City Aztecs knocked them out of the semifinal round. They didn't make it to the championship, and ultimately Mexico City would go on to win that championship game. Vancouver in the following 4 seasons would either have a losing record or would go 500. Starting in Season 14, Vancouver would go on an absolute tear. They had 9 seasons in a row where they had a winning record and made it to a playoff game and won a playoff game, except for one season back in Season 21. They made it to the playoffs and lost. But 9 consecutive seasons of a winning record and a playoff appearance before last season.
And most, if not all of those 9 seasons, they've actually won a division title as well. So, and this was a second consecutive season for them where they didn't win a division title.
Right.
But here they are.
Here they are.
They're in
Don't matter
the
now.
championship. It doesn't matter. You get yourself into the dance. You make the most of it, and look where they are now.
I had players in the locker room after Mexico City kind of backed into that South Division title this season. They were like, are we going to get some South Division champion gear? And I'm like, not yet, because the job's not done. The goal wasn't the South Division title. For Vancouver, the goal wasn't the West Division title. They didn't get the West Division title. If they win the championship this afternoon, they're not going to care whether they were first or last in the division. That no longer matters. Everybody talks about how, if you win a game only by 1 point, that was a close win. And people will say, well, but a win is a win.
Correct.
Right? In the championship, if you win the championship, it doesn't matter if you went 12-0, if you went 6-6, if you won your division, if you were in the middle. None of that matters. All that matters is you won. That's it.
And we've actually had a team in the SFL, the Jacksonville
Kings.
The Jacksonville Kings or Tallahassee Pride, whatever you want to call them at the time, undefeated going into the championship.
It was Tallahassee.
And guess what? They got beat by the then Alaska Storm, now the Florida Storm, in the championship game
confusing.
after going undefeated. So that's the thing, right? And guess what? They had all the accolades going into that game, and then they got beat. And guess what? Everybody, only thing the people remembers about them, they were undefeated and lost.
That's it.
Florida got to take home the trophy. That's all people really talk about.
Yeah, throughout the season here in season 24, Mexico City ultimately went 8-4, Vancouver 9-3. Neither of these teams had the best record in the league, but both of these teams are the two last teams standing here in the championship game. Mexico City, they had a tough schedule. It was the number 2 strength of schedule when all things were said and done. Vancouver, slightly easier ride as far as scheduling is concerned. Strength of schedule was actually only 19th, so down near the bottom. But strength of victory, top 10 for both of these teams. Mexico City with the 3rd highest strength of victory, and Vancouver with the 8th. You know, both teams would start off their season with a couple of wins. Mexico City actually then had back-to-back losses, going 2-2, and teams started asking, hey, what's going on with the division or the defending champions? Mexico City would then go on to win the next 5 straight, all the way up through and including Week 12, where they beat Vancouver in Mexico City. So then things would start to shake up again a little bit. They'd lose 2 of their next 3. They lost to Baltimore. They lost to Arizona to finish out the regular season. But then, of course, in the quarterfinals and the semifinals, they got their, a rematch win over Albuquerque and then revenge over Baltimore, beating them in their own house 34-20. For Vancouver, they started off by winning their first 4 games before losing 2 of their next 3. So, they start out 4-0, then it starts to shake up a little bit. They won a couple, then they lost to Mexico City in Week 12, like we mentioned. They haven't lost since then, though, Gerald. They won in Week 12, or they lost in Week 12. They've then beat Bossier City, Lexington, Denver, and now, of course, Washington, the number 2 seed.
See, and what was good about you guys and how you guys did it, right? You guys started to – it's seeming like some people thought, hey, you lose against Baltimore on the road, and then you beat Albuquerque at home, and then you're like, all right, hey, they're back in it, and then you lose against a Arizona Scorpion team right at the end of the season, last week of the season, right, to kind of get yourselves backing into the into the South Championship.
Right.
And then – people had some questions kind of going in there, especially not so much against Albuquerque because they figured, hey, look, you're going to best them, and you did, by a very similar score. But Baltimore, seeing how Baltimore beat you guys in Baltimore before. You were going to Baltimore, and what you guys did, you guys completely flipped it and actually did something really, really good for them. So you guys avenged that loss. Vancouver now, their last big loss was against you guys in Week 12. Now, can Vancouver do the same thing that you guys did to Baltimore?
Why you got to go there?
To be able to take it and actually flip it and actually win that rematch game in the biggest moment. For you guys, it was the biggest moment up until this week that you guys were able to, correct that, what you guys lost there. And can Vancouver turn around and do something very similar this week?
Always possible, and Vancouver, of course, on the road in Mexico City back in that Week 12 matchup. Neutral site game for the championship, played in Zollner Championship Field. However, Vancouver is considered the home team. They're going to have a lot of fans there, I know, so it's going to be quite the scene, quite the crowd. We talked about their divisional standing. Obviously, Mexico City winning the South. Listen, I'll put air quotes on it. I'll put an asterisk next to it. Won the South by default is really the best way. Someone had to win the thing. All 5 teams in the South Division with a winning record. Mexico City with 8-4 is the number 1 team in the South. Fort Worth, the number 5 team in the South, they were 7-5. Very tight division.
And they had the best record in the South.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, right. As far as division,
1 loss.
Yeah. Fort Worth went 4-1 in the division. They went 4-1 from Fort Worth. 4-1 in the division, last place. Meanwhile, in the West Division, Washington Trident, coming on here in this season in their inaugural season as Washington, 10-2, winning the division. They had beat pretty much every other team. 3-2 in the division though. So 2 of those, both of their losses were divisional losses. Including Vancouver. That was one of the losses they had was to Vancouver, who finished number 2, and a lot more separation. 7-5 for Sin City, 6-6 for Arizona, 2-10 for Los Angeles. So it's really those top 2 titans, if you will, in the West battling it out there. But both of these teams, Mexico City number 3 in points scored, Vancouver number 1 in points scored, Mexico City number 2 in points allowed. Vancouver, number 1 in points allowed. Here we go again with another unstoppable force meeting a immovable object.
Right. So, and we're gonna end up seeing how that's gonna shake out, and we'll break it down a little bit later.
We will break it down a little bit later. Coming up in a little bit, Haynes Vision, breakdown by Cameron Irvine and Charles Doherty. But first, Ashley Jackson caught up with some players from some of tonight's big matchups. Take it away, Ashley.
So what I want to know from each of you, or actually, I mean, you can have one representative from the team, say something, or if everybody wants to, but facing each other, what do you feel are some strengths and some weaknesses? Name one strength and one weakness of your opponent on Saturday.
I could go either way with this. I could be a real person, or I could just put my sunglasses on and pull a heel promo. And I mean, Vancouver's a team that I've had respect for.
Hey,
Vancouver, they're a team I've had respect for forever. Again, Andy's one of my good friends. I've gone out to dinner with him in my own hometown. Had a great time with him at the convention, filming the vlog and at the draft. But at the end of the day, I got to get it done. And so, unfortunately, the thing about the Vancouver Legion that just holds them back is that they're not us.
Did he just go WWE right quick? Did he just?
www.ray.com.net .ring .yeah.
Okay. I feel you, Eddie. Jordan, did you want to add anything to that before I move on to Vancouver and what they have to say? Because they look like they itching to say something.
I want to know, are you able to take the mic privileges away from Ray? Because we're borderline needing that to happen. And I get it. His personality is like this all the time. Ray is not Ray. But I have a lot of respect for Andy to just be silent in these moments.
Well, all right. I'm going to see how Andy feel about all of this. Andy, what is something that, that Mexico City does well and something that they are a little bit weak on?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think Ray cuts a good promo. I think, and I've said that, and Ray knows this. He hit it on the head. We're good friends. He's done a Pro Bowl as a coach. When you actually hold the sticks, it is a different game than when you are just hanging out and being a fan. And no knock to either side, right? Both is important for a league like this, but when you actually are in the dirty work of the game planning and stuff, it's kind of a different world. Mexico City as a team, they do everything great, right? To get to this point in the season, everyone has, even the other two semifinal teams, Baltimore, Washington, they do everything great, right? There's a lot of pieces of a game plan that are really good. At this time of the year, it's kind of figuring out what teams enjoy doing and figuring out what ways you can break that down and try and keep it from happening, right? So, in terms of Mexico City, their whole team is really good, and it's our job to try and, slow that down, put a stop to it, or pick and choose which areas we want them to try and play well in. So, there's really not many individual pieces that I would highlight. I just think they're a really class organization. I've had the most respect for Ramos and Mike Daggs and Ray even at times. And, the rest of that organization, from top to bottom, I think, Ramos messaged me when I had made it through, and I messaged him right back and said, I'm really glad and grateful that it's going to be one of us, right? That's going to walk away with the ring at the end of the day and the trophy. And so, no matter what promo Ray cuts about, how he's the biggest and the baddest, emphasis on biggest, that more power to him. I that's what Ray Bentley's about. He's brought so much to the league for that, and I'm really I'm grateful that if it's not going to be my team, it's going to be their team. So, I'm really happy to be here. I'm excited about the opportunity. I'm certainly not squandering it. We're taking full advantage. Mark and I have been working through all hours of the night and the day to sim and test different stuff and figure out how we want to attack this Mexico City team. But just super excited to be here and take all the opportunities as they can and play such a storied franchise for I think the 13th time all time. Like we've known each other, but it's time to kind of put it together when everything's on the line.
Well said. Ezekiel, Jack, before I move on to the last question, did y'all have anything to add to that? Any strengths or weaknesses, with Mexico City that you want to make mention of, that you notice?
They're a very balanced team. They can throw the ball, they can run the ball. The defense is stout. And it's been that way for some time with them. For pretty much as long as I've been around. So I have nothing but respect for them.
Got it. Mr. Bear, anything?
No, I'm gonna stay quiet.
Y'all good? Okay.
I've had this game.
I love it. Last question, but that you actually cannot say.
So.
Hey, I feel you. Something that I don't want you to stay quiet about is how important this win would be for you specifically. I understand, hey, for the team, this is great. For for Vancouver, it's great for the country. I get all of that, but I want to know how important it is personally for each and every one of you. And this is going to be how we end things off tonight. So, Mr. Bear, I'm gonna give you the floor.
All right. As I started to say, when I saw this game was on our schedule for the regular season, it was the game I circled. It's the one that I wanted to have the biggest impact on. Didn't go our way, so getting a rematch here in the championship, I'm perfectly happy with. As I said, I have a chip on my shoulder. I was the last wide receiver taken in the draft. Round 2, pick 37. Nolan Pierce, Elliott Pope Jr., Clarence Lee, and Jared Dumas were all picked before me. I didn't expect to be the first one picked. Maybe not the second wide receiver picked, but by the third and fourth one, I said they chose wrong. They should have picked me. So Vancouver reached out, drafted me. Greatly appreciate it. But I have that chip on my shoulder. I want to prove that I'm better than the other 4 wide receivers that were drafted this past year. Because of the chip on my shoulder, I've kept tabs on everyone and just throwing out some stats real quick. Among the rookie wide receivers, I lead them in receptions, yards, and yards per game, and I'm second in touchdowns on the season. So I want this to be another feather in the cap that shows that, hey, everyone but Vancouver made the mistake by not taking me.
And, the universe works out the way it's supposed to. Maybe you weren't supposed to go.
I'm perfectly happy. I think it worked out perfect. I don't have any ill will with anyone. I'm not upset with anyone. But it's just, Vancouver picked me. I'm with them for a reason. And I want to see it through. And let's get on top of the mountain.
Damn, man, you remember everybody that went before you. You remember the exact plays and shit. I don't remember. That was detailed, man. You're serious. I like it.
I don't like losing. I don't like not being picked. I don't like being picked last. I want to be number 1.
All right, then. I love it. Jack, how important is this win for you, sir?
This is my 11th season in the league. Of the previous 10, I've only been in the playoffs 3 times. The rest were losing seasons. My goal every year is to win. So this championship, for me, it'll be great. It'll be great to have. It's great to even be here. because I got so used to being done by week by the 12th game, and then it's okay. It's time to get ready for the off season. So this whole run has been great. The championships for this year will be a cherry on top, especially with the great team that I'm a part of, and that Vancouver's been. It'll be great for for Andy and for Mark, and to help them finally get over that hump and finally get that ring. So yeah, this is huge for me.
Okay. I'm gonna skip you, Andy, because I'm gonna do you and Ray last, but I'm gonna go over to Jordan. Jordan, why is getting another ring important?
All right, Ashley, thank you. Sorry, we cut that a little bit short, but hey, we're rolling here on SFL Championship Saturday. Alongside Charles Doherty, I'm Cameron Irvine. We're about to call the game, and we're breaking down this footage. We start with the Vancouver offense and the play that busted the semifinals open, Charles. This bomb from Charles Brown to Christian Brown to Brett Killian.
Yeah, Brett Killian is just a beast. You can throw man-to-man at him. You can do zone. He's going to find a seam of where he's open, and he's going to make you pay for it.
Then the talented list of receivers continue for Vancouver because they got Nick Lockett too. We'll see Ezekiel Bear, Lili Nakai, all of them.
Yes, Lockett in particular. I mean, he is sneaky. He played for Mexico City previously, and he really wants to have a big game tonight.
Lili Nakai picking up that first down early in the game. Vancouver did a good job in that semifinal getting all their weapons kind of in the ball game early and often.
Yeah, and you could tell they were well prepared. All of them ran routes so crisp and were where they needed to be.
Hand off to Mateo Bravado here, and we get to the backs in the backfield now for Vancouver because Vancouver's very unique. They use Bravado almost more than anybody else from the fullback spot.
Yeah, but it's a two-headed beast in that backfield between Bravado and between McBride. In the playoffs so far, Bravado's been getting most of the touches, and he's been executing. He's got a 4.1 average, 2 touchdowns. And Christian Brown can run just as well as you see here. You got to keep someone locked in on him to see if he's going to try and be sneaky and run it up the middle.
He has 4 rushing touchdowns in the regular season, has another in the playoffs, and we'll see Jordan Sipe a little bit later, who also can run the football. This defense can hit. We start with Mihata getting the pass broken up by Jack Russell, who Ashley interviewed earlier this week.
Yeah, the secondary, or for both of these squads, but we're talking about Vancouver here. They are strong, and they're like Swiss Army knives. They need to do it all. They expect their defensive backs to be able to play pretty much any role on defense.
And the best downhill defender, Josh Farnsey, has been incredible for this defense. This linebacking core, we were talking about in pregame, Charles, linebacking core is just so darn quick.
Yeah, and between the three of them, if one or two is kind of going slow, the other one will stand up and do what they need to do to keep the linebackers clean. And we saw it on that play right there. The defensive backs, you cannot leave one of them out of your view because they'll just stay in that soft zone and they'll make you pay for it. And it's going to be hard to see over the tall defensive line of Vancouver.
Emmanuel Blackman iced the game there. All right, there's a look at Jordan Sipes' playoff numbers. 45 of 62 with 5 touchdowns, Charles. He's been an absolute surgeon.
He is the best quarterback, I will say, in the SFL in reading coverages. You make one mistake, you're not, your defense isn't practiced to the T and locked and loaded. He's going to find holes, and he's going to make you pay, and he's going to make you pay when he throws it to Tarasas and when he throws it to Henry.
Throw it to the tight end, Bill Henry. He doesn't catch 3-yard passes, right, Charles?
No.
I mean, he's a first down machine.
Yeah, it's double digits. First down every time he touches the ball.
Jason Bartley was the difference in last season's championship win over Canton. His speed is electric in this offense.
Yeah, not just his. There's 2 other players. They've got the fastest wide receiving core in the league. You've got to, drink your Gatorade before you get on the field trying to cover those stallions.
Ray Bentley, a Hall of Famer, nearing another milestone today, 16,000 yards. He punched. This was one in for Mexico City. No one is forgetting about Ray Bentley in this match.
Oh, no, you can't. But you can't forget about the offensive line either. I mean, much credit for Ray Bentley, but both of these offensive lines, they're going to the All-Star games for a reason.
Jacob Morrison, could be their secret weapon today. Who knows? He's been a little quiet in the last month or so.
He has, but, one of the things, especially in the playoffs, is if you get the call, you have to execute, and he's been doing that every time he touches the ball.
John Osiris with an interception there. Osiris and Fowler, the two-headed John monster for Mexico City in the front seven.
Yeah, Osiris does it all. I mean, he is a leader out there in the middle of that defense, and he'll make you pay.
Thanks to Ron Haynes and Haynes Vision for all these highlights today. He'll be in our stat truck with Rochelle Colston and Ike McBride this afternoon. Let's get to the secondary for Mexico City. Merrick Itera, Jeffrey Daggs, Max Jackson. This three-headed monster, always tough to throw on.
They've got 5 defensive backs, and all 5 of them, they didn't all go to the All-Star game, but they're all-star caliber. They execute perfectly. They'll make you pay. We talked about soft zone. They will hide where you can't see them, read the quarterback's eyes, and if you don't make a quick decision and decisive, they're going to make you pay for it.
And in this semifinal from last week, every single highlight of the secondary was in the red zone, making big plays, and that was really the difference in this game. For those of you that were upset that we cut off the Ashley Jackson interview, we've got so much. She has so much more from that show earlier this week. You should check it out, the semifinal show. But for now, let's go back to Mike Daggs and Gerald Smith, who will continue our coverage of the 24th SFL Championship pregame right here on VFN.
All right, thanks for that. Welcome back into our studio here. We're going to break down these games. Well, this game now here in the
these games. How many
games.
are we playing?
Usually we break down a bunch. We've only got one to break down, but I'm sure you'll still have plenty to say.
Yeah,
so
I got something like that. Maybe
a couple, 2-3 words. Listen, we talked about this already. This is going to be a rematch from Week 12 when Mexico City beat Vancouver by 20 points. But that was a long time ago now, and that was there's been a lot that's happened since then. First off, that was Vancouver's final loss. They've won every game since, and they've done so by 2 scores or more. So they looked at that loss. They got things turned around. Meanwhile, Mexico City lost 2 of the next 3 before bouncing back in the playoffs, beating Albuquerque in the quarterfinals, and, of course, Baltimore in the semifinals. Now the number 3 seed Legion hosts the number 4 seed Aztecs in the Season 24 championship game coming up in just a little bit of time. These 2 teams, they are no strangers, Gerald. They faced off 12 previous times. Matchup history is fairly evenly split at 7-5, favoring Mexico City. 3 of those previous meetings were in the playoffs when Mexico City would put an end to Vancouver's season all 3 times, okay, including the Season 9 semifinal game, which was Vancouver's inaugural season. We already talked about what happened after that. They, had losing seasons for
you broke their will.
Yeah. What happened to Canton? Too soon. I'm kidding.
It's not too soon. It's not.
Vancouver is out for revenge, as I'm sure Canton faithful now are too. And they're seeking their first championship title. Meanwhile, Mexico City's looking to join a very short list of teams with back-to-back championship wins in the SFL. So break it down for us. How's it going to happen?
Look, and here Mexico City is again in the championship game. Again,
Yep.
You guys are getting way too greedy, and how you did it, you went in last week, and you absolutely manhandled a team that I called the scariest team in the playoffs in Baltimore, and you beat them by 14 points, and it was handily. They scored kind of late, made it look a little bit respectable, but it really wasn't. It was 34-13, late in the fourth quarter. I won't even call that touchdown, whatever. But look, I think the story was quarterback Jordan Sight for you guys.
Man,
he was
played well.
Absolutely amazing, throwing for 399 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 picks. After last week, he had 4 himself. He does nothing at all this week in terms of turnovers, which was not very good for the Baltimore defense. Wide receiver Noe Terrazas was unguardable with his 10 receptions, 261 yards, and all 3 of the touchdowns Jordan Sight threw was to Noe Terrazas. He averaged 26 yards per reception. And then if you even look at Bill Henry at the tight end position as well.
Yeah.
He didn't have a whole lot of catches, but he averaged 24 yards per reception as well.
Big
Look,
plays.
And that's the thing, and it was something about the man coverage. Their scheming just was not working right for Baltimore, and you guys exploited it. number 48, I think it was Elijah Warfield or whoever it was, he got dominated.
He had a rough night.
He a really, really rough night. Had
night.
no safety help. They expected him to cover Terrazas' own. It just didn't work very well. And look, the run game for you guys, and I think it's something that Baltimore may have keyed on, right? That you guys were held in check in the run game side of it, right? But you did not need it with the play of Sipe, Terrazas, and what they were doing out there. Look, and you guys beat the man coverage up. Like I said, with Sipe and Terrazas were tops in the playoffs in multiple I can't even say it. Stat categories.
That's the one.
This postseason, Sipe is number 1 in QBR. He's got 127 QBR right now. It's first of all teams in the playoffs. Completion percentage, number 1. Touchdowns, number 1. And Terrazas is number 1 in receiving yards and touchdowns as well in the playoffs. So it's going to be interesting how this offense kind of shakes out.
And how about that Aztecs defense? Ramos's defense did what they've done all season long. They played great against one of the league's best teams and bested them.
And best them, they forced 3 turnovers this postseason. The defense has been led by linebacker John Fowler, right, who got himself another TD. Last week.
Interception, yeah.
Guess what? And he leads all players in the playoffs with 3 interceptions alone by him. So, look, and you guys didn't apply much pressure at all, but it worked, and y'all didn't have to because it seemed y'all just seemingly cruised right through, now into the championship games. And the key players for you guys going in is going to be Sipe, Terrazas, Fowler, and the DB, the Hall of Fame defensive backs of Max Jackson and Jeffrey Daggs. They've been tackling machines all season long. They're right where they need to be. Playing the line of scrimmage, I think those are the key guys that are going to have to play well for you guys to beat a very, very good Vancouver team.
All right, well, speaking of the very good Vancouver team, number 1 in total scoring, number 1 total offense. Kind of jealous of that. They've reached their first championship in team history, and they did so by riding that number 1 offense. Talk about that.
And they did very, very well offensively. I'm going to tell you these numbers, right? They had 524 total yards of offense, even though Christian Brown threw 4 interceptions. He had 372 yards, 64% completion percentage, and throwing it to Hall of Famer wide receiver Brett Killian as well, who was seemingly just as unstoppable as Terrazas. 14 receptions, 196 yards, and a touchdown to go along with that. The run game as well was very solid, and because of the rocky thing that they had going on there, they helped steady the offense behind fullback Mateo Privado, averaging 5 yards a carry last week. Look, and because of it, they were able to overcome the turnovers. But this offense is going to have to limit those turnovers going into this week because you guys can take advantage of it. And if they can't limit those turnovers, they might struggle. So they have to eliminate those turnovers that they had last week.
Yeah, defensively, their number 2 or their unit kept the number 2 scoring team, Washington, to only 17 points. That's why Vancouver's defense has been the number 1 scoring defense. They're not allowing anybody to score against
and look,
them.
and Washington averages 29 points at home when they play at home, and they held them 12 points under that. So look, along with keeping that same offense, who is ranked number 3 in total offense, to only 217 yards of total offense last week when they averaged nearly 400 per game.
Yeah.
They only allowed 20% of the third downs to be converted into first downs. And look, they played as a collective defensive unit. There was no real standout. They played such as a collective unit, and everybody played well. And I do think for them, their key players that they're going to need to step up is going to be Christian Brown and eliminate the turnovers that he had.
Yeah.
Ike McBride and Privado in the run game, they're going to have to kind of pound it in there, keep you guys honest and stuff like that, so you guys don't be able to feast on the back end. Brett Killian has to do his thing, what he did last week.
He is good,
and the entire defense is going to have to step up like they did last week because you guys sneakily have one of the best offenses. And Sipe is showing it.
Yes.
He is playing out of his mind right now.
MVP.
And you have to slow that down. And they're going to need the entire defense to do so.
They sure are. It's going to be a great game. Two of the best teams in the league facing off. What could be better? This is what it's all about. This is what you want to see in the championship game. Teams that know how to score and teams that know how to shut down an opposing offense, because what is going to happen when you have that sort of matchup, going head to head. And
now defenses have been the driving force last week in winning games.
Yeah, so which defense is going to step up bigger and which offense is going to be able to figure out a way to poke through? Christian Brown, that's the key player for me to watch on Vancouver. They got him involved in the run game, as well last week a little bit more heavily, and they've been coming out in a lot of empty backfield sets. So look for Brown to be throwing early and often, and maybe even running. Jordan Sipe, we've been using him in the running game as well. He fumbled twice in the quarterfinals and then said, what did I get benched? Because he ran a grand total of 0 times in the semifinals. Will he run again?
It worked. Look, Christian Brown had over 40 yards rushing last week, too, on the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah,
getting it done. So, all right, let's do our picks. 145 picks down. Only 1 pick to go. You bet against me last week.
I did.
And it cost you. We were tied, and now I'm back in the lead, which means no matter what, you can't beat me. The best you can do is tie.
We'll see.
All right, let's get into the pick. We've only got the one game. Who do you got here in the championship?
I am going a route that some people may not think I'm going to go. I am going with Vancouver, and I'm going to tell you why. They have one of the most I just can't go against the number 1 scoring offense, the number 1 scoring defense, and everything else. Guess what? Because they're playing so well right now, and they do it. The only thing I'm worried about is them limiting the turnovers on offense. If they can limit those turnovers, I do think they win a close one against the defending champs of Vancouver. You can take it. You can do what you got to do. Y'all got it together. Make it happen for me and for yourselves. Mainly for me.
Just so that you can tie?
Yes.
No surprise to anybody, I'm going to pick Mexico City. But just like I said last week against Baltimore, this one could come down to a coin flip. Talking about maybe an overtime coin flip, or maybe whoever wins the opening coin toss gets to kick or receive, whichever one you prefer. It's going to be a close game. It's going to be a great game, but I gotta see my boys in black. Our team colors are supposed to be green, but the players have pretty much changed that. I let them vote on uniforms, and we're wearing black again.
Also, think about this: is this the first time we've had 2 international teams playing in a championship?
It is.
Canadian
no
team
U.S.-based
and a Mexico
teams.
team.
Yep.
The north of North America and the south of North America. They forget everybody in the middle.
Yeah.
Go international teams.
We left the U.S. behind. You can take that flag down now. We're done with that one. So should have hung up a Canadian flag. Missed opportunity. Next season if you make it back. All right, we're going to pass it back off to Ashley Jackson, and then we'll be back in just a little bit. But first, she caught up with some more players anxious for tonight's big game.
Well, while we let him do his thing, Ray, we'll go over to you. Why is this having another wing in your repertoire important?
So there's 2 different answers to this. I'm going to give my real one first and then the heel one because I can't not. Let Andy respond to that. But to be completely honest, the first championship against Chicago and Shane, it was amazing. It was truly something special. Last season against Canton, it was special, but it didn't have that same flavor. And I feel like because I have that same relationship with Andy, like Shane and I would talk all the time leading up to the season 9 championship. And not that Andy and I call each other every day going, looking for updates. But when he got his berth into the championship, I messaged him, my man, because it's been, since season 9. If you ask me, Des caught it, Kate Stevens was in. However, I benefited from both, so I have to just live with the history. But ultimately, this game is important to win because, like I said earlier, Andy is one of the storied pillars of the SFL community. This feels like the SFL final boss. I'm not saying that Ray Bentley's not going to be on the field next season if I win again, but it's going to be hard for a lot of championship matchups to be able to match just the raw emotion, the romance going on here. Now, answer 1. Answer 2, for Andy, for Vancouver, this might be the most important game of their lives. They've never been here before. But for me, it's just another Saturday, baby. Let's go.
Oh God, Andy, hold on, hold it. I know.
Okay,
Jordan,
there we go.
that was dope. You back now, Jordan? So how important is this win for you adding another ring to your repertoire?
Yeah. So much like Ezekiel, I really marketed myself to get picked in the draft early. And I knew that I wouldn't be the first quarterback taken off the board, even though I set an SFLM record, because I knew that there was one of the quarterbacks was a friend of one of the owners. And I eventually got taken, and I couldn't even tell you who the person that got taken ahead of me was now. But after 6 seasons, it just felt like for 4 of them, we were not only not in the playoffs, but not even close. And as soon as I came to Mexico City, it was kind of like, wow, did I just break a winning culture? Like, they just won and won and won. And as soon as I got here, there wasn't much winning happening. And so last year was my first year going to the playoffs, and we won. And it was really satisfying, but I felt like I didn't have much of a part there. It seemed like the defense was keeping me right above water the whole time. And now that I'm kind of in this MVP discussion, it kind of feels like, this one means that much more, that I'm actually participating, that I'm actually not the reason why the games are so close. We're actually winning by multiple scores. So it's really exciting to see myself playing well, and hopefully being one of the pillars of back-to-back championships. So it means a lot to me.
Thank you, Jordan. And last but not least, Andy, why is this important to you?
Yeah, I mean, this is what you play the games for, right? Every year you write down goals for your team when you write down the schedule in your notebook, and you mark some for what's important now, right? Which teams do I need to beat to have a successful season? And then every year, right, you write playoffs and SFL champions, and you draw that little square by it, and you hope that you can accomplish that. And for so many seasons now, we've drawn that box in Vancouver, and I haven't done enough to get us there and execute it for our players. And I think when you think of SFL legends, you think of Chizzy, you think of T-Pat, and you think of Ramos. These guys, Destro, they're out here winning championships, competing for them, and doing their thing when the time comes and the opportunity presents itself. And I said it earlier, but it really kind of rings true. We have a lot of guys on our roster who are kind of those overlooked players, right? Brett Killian at some point might be, the best receiver the SFL has ever seen. Mark Lopez, not only one of the better defenders, but also, really has kind of taken a secondary role this season to drop down the roster to kind of make the team better. Jack Russell coming over from London. Achilles Papatonis, one of the better pass rushers the league has ever seen. Josh Farnsey, I would argue the best inside linebacker the league has ever seen, right? Like, we've got a lot of good players, but, really it's the losses are on me for not getting them to the spots that they deserve to be. So the SFL championship for me is a big opportunity to kind of cross that off for them and showcase to the league that, not only are these players really good statistically on the field, but they're also worthy of winning the championship. I'm really blessed to have great people around me, right? Each win is a credit to them and all the hard work that they do. And each loss is an opportunity for myself to work a little bit harder for them. And so, to be right on the doorstep of putting them and their names down, on the trophy in immortality, I think is super exciting. And so for me, it's that opportunity, to prove it, right? I think EB was talking about how competitive he is, right? I'm competitive too, right? I got into the league in season 6 because I wanted to win the championship and be the best. And, it's been a long time, and I've learned a lot from a lot of people, and I've watched friends go and climb that ladder and shine their rings at me on camera in front of everyone who's watching. And I'm hopeful that one day I get to do the same. I hope it's Saturday, but if it's not, that just means that it's coming down the line. And I'll have to be patient for it, right? So, we're going to give Mexico City our best punch. And, we hope that they're the ones laying face down on the canvas when it's all over on Saturday. And if it's not, then I'm going to shake Ramos's hand and I'm going to get back to work.
All right, then. Well said. Well said. Well, I'm going to say that this is going to be a fantastic game to watch. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. Not to knock anybody's defense. Please don't think that I'm talking smack about your defense, but I just think that you both teams possess a very high-caliber offensive squad, and it will be up to the defense to be able to stop them, because if one of y'all slip up, the other one's going to run away with it. But I told Eddie on the Streets Are Talking that I think the score is going to be 38-42, but I didn't say who was going to win. But I think that it's going to be a very high-scoring game. It's probably if I had to pick somebody, I mean, I'm sucking on this clearly Canadian water right here, so I guess I'm choosing Vancouver. Hey, Ray, listen, don't hate me, man. Don't hate me, man. Don't hate me. Don't do it. But y'all already got one. Let somebody else get one.
It's fine to be wrong. How's that water taste? Because I can tell you exactly how these taste. Like metal.
Ashley, I will. I'll pray for you. That's all.
Actually, you can switch your pick if you need to. I don't necessarily need it. It sounds like they really need confidence going into this game. I'm good. If you want to pick them, I'm okay. That's fine with me. I don't need the support, the love. I'm just what's on the field is going to work it out. So if Ray and Jordan need your support, then I think you should give it to them.
I'll take it. Sure.
Yeah, why would I ever turn something like that down? That seems to me cruel and malicious. Like looking at an orphan offering you some cookies and going, "Disgusting, you urchin."
He called you an orphan, actually.
Some kind of plutocrat here? Come on, man.
That's wild. It's her show, Ray.
All I'm saying is Ashley is one of the most legendary figures in SFL history, and if she wants to pick us, I'm gonna let her pick us. I don't care what
Jordan might be the best cleanup guy of all time, because Ray is in here spilling all over the store, and Jordan is just mopping away.
That's why we work together. Perfect.
I've been here for seasons, and I've had to clean up some crazy messes. So I'm just.
It gets wet. Moist.
I can't with y'all. We gonna end right there before something else.
Hey, before we go, Ezekiel, Jack, Andy, it has been a pleasure to have you guys here tonight. I've been honored to be in your presence. I am very excited to take the field with all of y'all this Saturday. I think it's going to be an awesome game. And I truly, none of those sunglasses, none of the rings at all. May the best team win. I'm really looking forward to this one above all others.
Absolutely. It's an honor to be here with you. You're the Hall of Famer. So yeah, we're definitely looking at you with the you got the rings, the accolades. So yeah, but seriously, good luck to you guys. No matter what happens, it's just a game, and we come out and enjoy it. And like I said, bring that tequila to the tailgate afterwards. Either way.
Absolutely.
I agree. Thank you, Ray. Like we all said, win or lose, just one thing. Let's run it back next year.
Oh, wait, because it won't be one of y'all ain't gonna be there because the Arizona's gonna be in the next year. So
no. Run it back. Mexico
won't be
City.
round
Ashley, I love your optimism.
Yeah, I can point to the things behind me too.
This is where it's gonna be.
Back in the car? That's weird.
This is all I
Here's my Pro Bowl trophy with the score and everything. So,
Oh,
yeah, that's right.
No, Ray, we really want to see the karate trophy from 1992. Actually,
Okay, hold on.
Yep.
That's the centerpiece.
Sorry, this is 93, but it's
back in the 1900s.
this is Master Dong, third place, 1993.
We cannot read a single word of that. Ray.
And
No
from
part of that.
Dong's Karate.
Not at all.
Ray, I just want to tell you, I was born 6
I
years
can't.
after that.
Oh my gosh, I'm so old. I'm so bald.
Don't worry, Ray. If you see my hairline, I'm going. I'm only 25 though.
On that
Hey,
note.
I'll share. I'll
Thank
see you at the convention. I'll share. It's all right. Hey, but
What is going on, SFL Nation? Mike O'Neill here. Welcome to SFL Game Day must-see matchups. Mexico City, Vancouver, Season 24 Championship tonight. Let's kick things off with our first matchup. Christian Brown versus the Aztecs defense. If Christian Brown goes over 250 tonight, I think that the Legion win this game. Watch what they're going to be doing. They're using the Ace-H flex formation. They love to use this on first down. Sending a guy in motion to throw the defense off. We're going to watch BK12 in the slot here. Just going to be running an inside slant, but Christian Brown is so good at identifying coverages. And this formation is great in the pass game, but also in the run game. Here in a goal line situation, that's number 99, TJ Harper, one of the best linebackers in the SFL. They're going to send John Michael Sudduth in motion from the right to the left to pull TJ Harper out of the box. And well, we know how this story goes. We watched it all season. Christian Brown up the middle, QB sneak into the end zone for a touchdown, and that was huge in this game. No Terrazas versus the Legion defensive backs. We're talking about Mexico City now. Look at the top of the screen. That is going to be no Terrazas, right? And this was, look at, first of all, the defensive back out of position right here. No Terrazas is elite on these deep routes. Makes a man miss, takes it all the way to the house. Guys, this was the first play of the game for Mexico City on offense. That's how lethal this receiver is. Again, we're going to see, look, pause it right there. Look at the separation, right, between the corner and the safety, and Jordan Sipes' ability to fit that ball in there. That's going to be a huge one to watch. Thank you guys for tuning in to SFL Game Day must-see matchups. We will see you guys out on the field. Good luck to both teams.
Welcome back. It all comes down to this, Gerald.
You got this, Andy. You got this. We have this. Do this for us, for Vancouver, for Canada. You got this. Take it home.
You see what I got to deal with here with this guy?
No. This guy, we got to deal with this guy and his team. They're back on top right now. Vancouver got it. I'm telling you. Vancouver's going to take it. Go, Andy. You got this. I'm not throwing you on the ground. I feel confident in you.
Put it down.
Nope, I'm not throwing him down. He's got it. Let's go.
It all comes down to this, folks. The regular season is in the books. You're ridiculous. The playoffs are in the books. Only the championship remains. We want to say thank you to everybody who's joined us throughout the season for the Matt Wilson SFL Kickoff Show. We see you all in the chat. We can't always interact with you all in the chat, but we will definitely do that when we're able to. We always appreciate your viewership, your support, the DMs that we get after the show. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And, of course, thank you to Cameron Irvine for allowing us to do the show, and to Ron Haynes for helping us out behind the scenes. Couldn't do it without you guys. With that, we will now send it over to Tyler Falk, Mike St. Green. They're going to get us set for kickoff. We'll see you on the field.
This time we get to preview the first ever international SFL championship game. It almost feels like a Copa America final where we're playing a different type of football. Mexico City and Vancouver. And boy, this one has expectations all over it. Final game for Evan Miller of his SFL career. Final game for Sunu Nakai in his SFL career. A lot of at stake for those two. A lot of on stake for Mike Daggs and Ramos Litt of Mexico City and that coaching staff. A lot at stake for Andy Hamilton and the rest of that coaching staff over in Vancouver. Mike St. Green. This one is going to be an amazing game. It's got The defenses. I'm not. I actually had a great breakdown, some great interviews, but I don't think this game is going to get nearly 70 points like she's predicting.
I'm not sure about that one. I'll comment on what I think how to end up a little bit later, within the time that we have here, Tyler. But man, first of all, great to be here again with you on a fantastic championship Saturday. As you mentioned, 2 international cities playing American football. Imagine that. But and for all the marvels in this fantastic Sim League that we're a part of. And man, looking forward to this game today. Excellent matchup, as you mentioned. I think the point total is going to probably be determined on, what happens with these, 2 teams, in particular Mexico City on the defensive side, and can the Vancouver offense, can they score points at the rate in which we've seen them score towards the end of this season?
Now, the big thing coming into this game, this is the 4th time that these 2 teams have met in the playoffs. This will be the first time they met in a championship game, but Mexico City has had Vancouver's number in the first 3 playoff matchups, taking all 3 and taking the win earlier this season in week 12 as well. Vancouver's got it all to do here over in Baltimore. And I'll tell you what, you mentioned the defense, but if I'm looking at Christian Brown or CTE4, as he likes to start calling himself, especially with what happened early in the game versus Washington last week, he's got to keep the turnovers down. And the one thing that's looking up for Vancouver and for the quarterback for Vancouver is Mexico City doesn't turn the ball over, or at least this season has not turned over the ball a whole lot in comparison to Vancouver's defense, who has forced the most turnovers in the league to this point.
And that's an interesting contrast. The Vancouver defense, they are fantastic. They get after the quarterback. They have 30-plus sacks as a group on the season. They're led by Gerald Giudice on that defensive front. But the Mexico City, on the other hand, not a bunch of sacks. They're steady. They get things done. They complement one another well. They're led by Jeffrey Daggs on the defensive side for as tackles are concerned, least team in tackles with over 100 tackles for the season. And John Fowler in the middle, he's just kind of a nuisance in there. He can get you an occasional sack. He can pick the ball off on occasion. We've seen him do that, but he's been a stud in the middle for them over the last couple of seasons. He's been a difference maker. But as we go back to the first game, the game that they played earlier in the season, a huge factor was the turnovers by Christian Brown. He had 2 in that game early in the season, but with no touchdown passes. So that's going to be huge. And as you mentioned, the 4 last week against Washington, I don't think that's going to fly today with the turnovers against Mexico City. The ball control on offense will not allow them to get the ball back as many times, I think, as they did last week following turnovers.
Now let's take a step back and just look at these 2 teams as a whole for the legacy. And we heard it from the players already earlier in the interviews with Ashley Jackson, what it means to those players. But as a franchise for Mexico City, coming off of a championship game, they couldn't successfully defend the championship that they won in season 9 and season 10. Now they're here in season 24 after winning a championship in season 23. They get to defend that title, to be able to say, we're starting a run, we're starting a dynasty, we're starting to make everything happen. Can we do it today? For Vancouver, the curse of 1-1 in playoffs is over. Back-to-back playoff wins for the first time in franchise history. First time they made a championship game. This has got to mean the world to Andy Hamilton, Gerald Giudice, the rest of the Legion crew, because they've never been here before. But what is the stakes here for Vancouver, for Mexico City? What does it truly mean for both teams?
Well, let's start with Mexico City. The pressure of recent history is the pressure for Mexico City. There's the last time there wasn't a repeat champion in the SFL was after season 16. Denver won in season 16 and failed to repeat after that. Then we have to run by Baltimore, and then we have to back-to-back championship from Florida over the past couple of seasons. So there's the pressure of recent history to say, hey, as you said, we're a dynasty, we're establishing ourselves, all things in SFL runs through Mexico City. Now let's turn to Vancouver and what's the pressure there for Andy Hamilton and that ownership group and all the leadership over there in Vancouver that's made a difference this season. The pressure is we've been around since season 9. We've always been the team of the very good, but not the great and the elite, and it's taken us 16 seasons to get here. We never know, if it took 16 seasons to get here, we'll never know when we're going to get back. So this could be a one and done situation. You never know. Nothing's promised in this league, and it's so versatile, so diverse. Anybody could win it at any given season. So, hey, the time is now for us to say, we're here. It took us 16 seasons to get here. Let's go ahead and take the bull by the horns and win this thing.
Now, we saw a lot of underrated performances in the lead up to this title game, both by two incredibly young wide receivers. One of them was on the interview for Mexico City. We've had a lot of performance from Honest Adobe on 2 little passes, but Noe Terrazas, one of the underrated wide receivers, has done phenomenal jobs throughout the entire season, leading the league in terms of touchdowns throughout the regular season and going off with 3 touchdowns here in the playoffs. But meanwhile, when we talk about Vancouver, there's 2 wide receivers that stick out that really have performed: Ezekiel Bear and Lili Nakai. Which underrated wide receiver grouping makes the bigger difference here today?
Oh man, tough question, and they both have underrated receivers on both squads, but one somewhat underrated receiver that I'm going to highlight is going to be Jason Bartley. He had a fantastic championship game last season. Was championship game MVP if I'm recalling that correctly. But he had a down regular season. We haven't heard from him much. So I think the potential is there more on the Mexico City side in Bartley, and also in Jared Dumas. He had a big game in the earlier game against Vancouver this season with 77 yards. He had a kick return in that game to make a difference as well. So Lili Nakai and her compadres over there in Vancouver are great in what they do for them. But I think potentially Mexico City, their receiving core, I think someone from other than Noah Terrazas can step up and make a difference in this game.
Okay, we got just a few minutes left. All the talk stops in just a few minutes' time, and we get to the game, and everything gets decided. And so, just like everybody else, we get to make predictions. Mike, we'll start with you. The Aztecs of Mexico City, or does Canada get their first title? What's your pick?
We just talked about the underrated players. But in my heart, I don't believe an underrated player is going to make a difference in this game. It's going to be the stars that are going to, have to come through and make a difference in this game. We see Ray Bentley on the Mexico City side. He's really, stepped back up after a couple of seasons of, maybe winding down, and we don't know what to expect from him. But he's been huge in that running game over there. You mentioned Noe Terrazas. He's been around a long time, formerly with Sioux Falls, and he's come over and make a huge difference in what Mexico City does in that passing game. Jordan Sipe has been excellent all season long. He's an all-star, also a champion from last season. But let's talk about the Vancouver side. Who's going to make a difference over here? It's going to have to be Christian Brown. It's going to have to be Brett Killian. We're going to, Mateo Privado. He's been fantastic in the running game over there all season long. And with that being said, Tyler, I'll say this: if Mexico City can keep Vancouver away from that 30-point plateau, I think I'll lean towards them. But if Vancouver can get a 30 points plus and get Mexico City in kind of a track meet type of game, I'm going to lean towards Vancouver. So I think it's going to be a track meet. I think Vancouver's going to figure out a way to keep the turnover ball down, and I think Vancouver's going to come away with a high-scoring victory. I don't know if it's going to quite reach the 70-point plateau as we heard some commentary about earlier, but let's go 34-28 Vancouver. First time in, first time champions.
Well, I like the pick for the team. I'm also going to go Vancouver, but I think if we go more than 46 points combined, I think something has gone terribly wrong for both teams in terms of the defensive game planning. And knowing both these coaching staffs, I don't see that happening. I think it's going to be a much low-scoring game than predicted. I'm thinking 24-13 in terms of the Vancouver Legion. I think Canada sees their first SFL champion, and it's going to be a fun game from start to finish. I'm predicting, because Vancouver during the regular season got the most touchdowns on defense, we're going to see at least one here coming from a member of the secondary for Vancouver, and that will be the breakaway play that puts the game away for the Vancouver Legion. We've done all we can do here. First SFL International Championship game in season 24. The Vancouver Legion and the Mexico City Aztecs in Baltimore, Maryland. Cameron Irvine and Charles Doherty will have the call. He's Mike St. Green. I'm Tyler Falk. We'll catch you at halftime. Good luck to both teams, and let's have some fun.